Hey everyone, Kim here, Abundant Life Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me. We are continuing on with our readings for the disappearance of Marissa Carmichael. I recorded part 1 late last night. I'm recording this one on Monday, January 19th, 2026 at approximately 4:30 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. Check out part 1 because I do a very brief summary of basic background information in that video. And that one's just strictly a detailed opening oracle reading. What we're doing now is asking specific questions, and I'm going to incorporate the tarot as well as oracle cards. And yeah, we're just going to dive right on into it because I've got about 8 questions, and I think the last question I'm going to devote to some of the people that she encountered in her, like in the recent, hours, days, months preceding her disappearance. And that's going to take a little while to get through. So stay tuned, settle in. We've got a lot to cover with this one, okay? All right, let's get to it. So I'm going to shuffle the tarot. The first question is, what are clues on who was the last person to see her and whether or not they are being truthful? We have here 7 of Earth. Okay, 7 of Earth. The key word on the 7 of Pentacles is failure. The last person, someone that has long-term, like a long-term situation with the 7 of Pentacles. That's a clue. Was this person truthful about the last time they saw her? Were they truthful? 5 of Pentacles, Queen of Wands. Okay. I'm going to say this. The 7 of Coins leads me to believe that she has a long-standing history with this person. So that is an important clue. This is someone that she's invested time in, even questioned, should she continue to invest energy and time into this connection or relationship? There's some aspects that they were not telling the truth about that particular night of where they were. Okay, and the reason I say that is because we have here the 5 of Pentacles, which is a no card. It is saying that no, there's aspects of their story that they gave either to her loved ones or to law enforcement that were not true. This person is someone close to her that she spent a lot of time in, but it's not just that she spent a lot of time with this person, is that she feels like she invested a lot. She gave a lot to this person, and she questioned that investment of time and energy, maybe even money. She questioned that. And in the end, it came back to bite her. The Queen of Wands is just simply saying that I'm going to look at the oracle in a moment before I interpret the Queen of Wands. Planning. Okay. We're getting clues about who this person is. Determined. Okay. Infatuation. Someone's still very much infatuated with her. How did they feel about her on that night? Or not the night, because this is the last person who saw her. Could it have been that early wee hours of the morning? Brutality. Okay, let's talk about it. So this is someone who very much is attracted to her with this Queen of Wands. She's someone who's highly desirable. He or she, I'm sensing it's a male with these 2 people here, male and female. I sense that she was somebody who was almost unattainable, attractive, courageous. She's independent. That could at first attract this person to her, but later it could make this person resent her deeply, okay? This is someone, like I said, that she spent a lot of energy, time, money. Could it be a business partner? Sure. But I feel like it could be something more on the lines of an interpersonal relationship, a romantic relationship even. Could be a friendship, because the reason I say that it's some kind of interpersonal relationship, romantic or platonic, is because we have 7 of Pentacles. This is someone that she spent a number of years. The Pentacles or Earth represents the timing of years for me. So it could represent a number of years that they both have invested in this relationship, and they both have questioned, can they continue to go forward with this connection? Queen of Wands, we talked about that. Here's some oracle. Planning, text, phone call, meeting up. So I know that we have here her being picked up, receiving a ride, and taken somewhere. I do get a sense that someone is not telling the truth about her, that being the last time anyone heard from her. Like there's somebody else, someone who she had an investment with, someone that she has some sort of partnership with, and she was questioning that partnership. There's some kind of, evidence too, with this text, phone call, or meeting up that maybe law enforcement hasn't released to the public yet. Okay? There could be that going on. We may not be privy to all that the investigation has yielded so far. We have here determined. It says persistent, still holding on, flowers and gifts. Is there someone in her life that has been persistent? Remember, this is question number 1. Clues on who was the last person to see her and whether they are being truthful or not. So when I ask clues, we got 7 of coins. We got 5 of coins. They aren't being entirely truthful. Now, does that mean that this person had anything to do with her disappearance or whatever subsequently happened to her after her disappearance? Not necessarily, but they're not being truthful. And then it's like, why is that? Why are they not being truthful? So then we have here infatuation. So Spirit wants us to get a little deeper. Spirit wants us to see, okay, this is not just a friendship. This is something more deep, at least I'm sensing from the other person towards Marissa. We have here, they're still holding on. They're persistent. That's the key words here. Flowers, gifts, trying to woo her, trying to keep her. What once attracted them to her began to become very frustrating because she couldn't be, kept in the way they wanted her to be kept. Infatuation has the keywords denial, obsession, attraction. So that's where Spirit's like, look, it's not just for that person towards Marissa is not just platonic. It's something a lot deeper, something a lot more. It's obsession. Now, sure, could it mean the opposite where she's obsessing about someone else? Oh, yeah, sure it could. But I don't think so. It's just from someone towards her. Obsession, denial. Maybe she was denying this person, turning them away after, like, look, we tried this. We ain't doing this again. Denial. Maybe they're denying that they saw, that they were the last person who actually saw her. And then ultimately how they were feeling was brutal. They wanted to hurt her. Brutality. Or maybe they felt she was being brutal towards them, like emotionally speaking. But I think actual physical brutality when I see this card. So these are the clues on the person who last seen her and whether or not they were truthful. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next question. Or was it a case of misadventure? So here's how we're going to do this. We're going to weigh it. Now, I know in the opening oracle reading, I got a sense that foul play is involved based on the totality of the cards. But one of the cards that came up in the opening oracle reading with the Divine Crime oracle that I used, it was like the last oracle deck. Misadventure did come up, but I sensed that it could be speaking to somebody trying to use it as a scapegoat or an excuse as to what happened to her. So I'm going to weigh it. I'm going to do a technique with tarot where you can weigh between the two. This is what I do for clients. So question number 2, was foul play involved? We're going to do foul play, and then we're going to pull a card for misadventure and see which one outweighs the other. Okay. Was misadventure involved? I mean, there was some element of misadventure in the sense of her, you know, it was, gosh, it was so many like misfortunes that led up to her disappearance that night. Now, normally we all in her, you know, in our mid-20s go out and could face similar circumstances that she did. Like, oh, my ride is gone. I ain't got my cell phone. I got to figure out a way home. Who has experienced that before as a young person? I think I did. It's been several years, but I think I did. So I'm never going to be judging her about that. But when you look at this, you hear about her story, what happened, you're like, dang. So in and of itself, how everything unfolded, it can be a sense of misadventure. However, here's what we did. So I'm looking at, when I'm weighing cards, I'm either looking at major arcana versus minor arcana, or numerology. Just simply, if we're dealing with minor arcana, like, is one card like a number 10 and the other card a 2? If it's a number 10, then that weighs heavier. Okay, so in this case, we've got 4 of Earth. 4 of Earth, for some of us readers who do these type of mysterious circumstance readings, it can represent something foul, a foul happening here. You know what I mean? Like someone transitioning to the earth, you know, when they say ashes to ashes, dust to dust type of energy, if you catch my drift. So the 4 of Earth is, we've got 4. Then when I asked about misadventure, we got 3 of Air, 3 of Swords. And this might be kind of triggering for some people to see IV usage. Okay, I'm just going to say that. But it's a 3. So out of the 2, foul play weighs more than this option here. Just saying. Okay. Just saying. Just teaching a technique here about the cards. If I ask point blank, was foul play involved in Marissa's disappearance? I want to see some transition. I'm going to do 2 out of 3. Yes, no, maybes. Was foul play involved? Yeah. All right, so this is another technique that you can do with the cards. Some cards, some decks, I should say, will list on here. Yes, look, yes. They would say no as well, but this one says maybe. Now, you could do, if you don't have a yes-no deck, which is fine, you can use any tarot deck, and you can assign yes or no or maybe. And so I do that. I do have other tarot decks that I have my yes, no's, and maybes associated with those cards. So in this case, we got 2 out of 3 yeses. That foul play is definitely involved in her movement, in her keyword transition with the 6 of Swords. Can you see that? I don't know if you can even see that. Transition, change, leaving behind, releasing, moving on, movement. So, and then we've got a yes, some kind of physicality happening here. It could be even striking her with something, with a weapon, or threatening to strike her with something. It is a yes card. And then we have Temperance. Okay, which is another yes card. Okay. Representing change. But it is 2 out of 3, and so this would tell me that foul play is definitely at hand. Some people, like I said in part 1, some people think she left on her own accord. Some people think that she was trafficked, which is a level of criminality. But when we're talking about foul play, what I'm talking about is causing physical harm to her. That's like harm that could take her life even. That's what I'm talking about. Not criminality in and of itself with trafficking. I'm talking about a transition, as this card is indicating here. So for me, I get a strong sense that foul play has led to her movement from the area, from that very, like right near the Exxon station, as well as, you know, transitioning from one state of being to another. Check out part 1 because we go in deep depth about different aspects of this case. Okay, let's move on to the next question. So now we're going to question number 3. And question number 3 is about clues on who is responsible for her disappearance. Now, this could be representing the same person that we discussed in question 1, or it can give us some additional clues about any accomplices or anyone who anyone who may be involved. Okay. Just looking at these because we have here, it says adjustment. One second. Hold on one second. I need to look at something. This is a Thoth deck. So I am studied up on, just so you all know, the Rider-Waite-Smith system. And so I have to check something. Okay, they did switch it. So this would be traditionally justice, but it's in reverse. Okay. And the keyword is adjustment. And then there's a second card with a 7 of fire, 7 of wands. Somebody who's really got their walls up, really defensive, really like, maybe maybe as soon as she disappeared, had their walls up, wasn't saying anything, not cooperating with law enforcement, or not cooperating with anyone to search, or not helping with the search, just immediately closed off. So this could be a clue about a secondary person, and this is the main person, the reverse justice card. Now in the Rider-Waite-Smith and then the Thoth tarot systems, it's switched, so that, you know, it might be a little confusing when I say justice is this card, but that's what it is for this deck, and that's okay. We're gonna roll with it. So justice in reverse is someone who doesn't play by the rules, maybe even have some past legal issues. It could be someone who in recent times, since we have a sense that she is familiar, Marissa was familiar with the person who's responsible for her disappearance and what happened to her. She has a history with them. So maybe some things were unsettled, like very unstable leading up to her disappearance. Because when you look at this card upright, this person is walking on a tightrope and having to balance everything. When it's in reverse, everything was kind of crumbling. Who in her life was things starting to crumble? Things starting to kind of fall apart? You know, so we're going to pull some cards here. Who was that? And I do get a sense there's a main secondary person that's involved. Mind games. And I do also think other people know what happened, because remember in part 1 we got the an intimate group of 2 to 4 people who are in the know about what happened to her. So Spirit wants me to stop here, which is fine. So again, I'm looking at all the cards in totality, including from part 1, and understanding that there is someone that she knows that's responsible for her disappearance in my summation. We have here for the oracle card that goes with this reverse justice card or adjustment card, as they changed the keyword. And someone, maladjusted. That's the other thing. So this keyword says adjusted. So maladjusted is someone who is not really adjusting in life. Maybe can't keep a job, always in and out of trouble. Not really a good support system for their family members. If they have children, they're not really showing up for their children like they're supposed to, or for family members who depend on them. Very maladjusted, can't really get along in interpersonal relationships. So that also comes to mind. We have here spiritual attack, karma, divine intervention in facing their demons. So spirit is like, okay, yeah, this is someone that she knows, someone she has a history with, and someone that they were in recent times, particularly during the justice period, which represents the time period of September 21st to October 20th. Something about that time period preceding her disappearance in January will give us a clue. Now, it could represent maybe someone having that Libra energy. In part 1, one of the cards that give us a clue about who the person is, the Libra card came up, and it represented that time period, like late September to mid to late October. Libra could be in their sun, moon, or rising signs. It also could just be something of significance happening in their relationship together during that time period, or something about that time period is of importance. And this person has consistently tried to face their demons, and there's karmic retribution happening here between this person and Marissa. But yeah, they aren't able really to conquer and face their demons, as we see with the reverse justice card. Now, moving on to the secondary person who was instrumental in kind of helping, right? We have here 7 of fire, 7 of wands, bravery. This person, when you know of the 7 of wands, we understand that to be someone who's defensive, have strong boundaries or walls high up. You can't penetrate those walls. They feel like they have to protect something, protect a position, protect a person, and so protect themselves. And they will protect the truth. They will protect, their well-being at all costs. We have here mind games as the oracle card. It has here the keywords immature, testing you, and analyzing you. So 7 of wands represents either the timing of 7 weeks and or the season of mid going into late spring, whichever it is. It could be 7 weeks prior to her disappearance that she was dealing with someone who was kind of immature, always testing her. You would think that they were friends, but then really, are they friends? There was like this kind of weird kind of energy going on within the 7 weeks preceding her disappearance, okay? And this person has key information, if not even allegedly helped the main perp, okay? At least helped in keeping things secret about what they know. And it could be with the 7 of wands because they fear their safety. They fear their safety. But when you know of the traditional 7 of wands in the tarot, this person is in a defensive position. They're positioning themselves for a fight to protect their mind, body, spirit, particularly their body. Like they don't want any harm to come their way. So it could just simply be that. But this person knows a lot more. And this person in the 7 weeks, within the 7 weeks, very soon prior to her disappearance, this person was being immature. They were playing mind games. They were testing her, testing those around them. They were analyzing, over-analyzing situations, over-analyzing Marissa or her how she was living. So these are just some clues for those who are close to Marissa or the situation at hand. maybe these things kind of make sense to you as I'm saying it. For those of us who are not very close to the situation, it may not make sense. And I understand that completely. But this is what is coming through as I interpret the cards. All right, let's move on to the next question. Okay, question number 4. What happened to Marissa? Now, we understand from part 1 that she may have been taken against her will at some point, right? Because we got that kidnapped and abduction card. We understand that there's some element of foul play that has happened to her. So, with that being said, I'm bearing that in mind when I do this part of the reading. What happened to her? We're going to now use the tarot, though. What happened to Marissa? Judgment. Okay. What happened to her? Meeting her maker. Someone judging her. Someone emotionally disappointed. 5 of water. 5 of cups. This could be some kind of element of drowning. I don't know. Or being near a body of water. Shallow water, Spirit wants to say. Judgment can be about meeting her maker, though, allegedly. And I'm so sorry to even say that. And maybe not. It could just be someone analyzing the situation of overly critical of her and then being very emotionally volatile and then taking her against her will. We could say that. Because here's her thing. Her loved ones believe that she's still with us, that she's been trafficked. And I want to respect how they are approaching this, case, right? Their loved one is missing. So there's that. I'm interpreting the cards based on my experience with them. Now, judgment, when you know the traditional judgment card in the tarot, it shows like a clarion call, like a great angel doing a clarion call and calling all souls up. Now, in this modern depiction of the judgment card, we have someone kind of, facing a mirror, and someone maybe they facing their own morality, their own, their own selves in the mirror and not liking what they see after what they've done to her. So it could be that as well. But if we're, when I see this 5 of water, it could be something to do with a body of water, drowning, or her drowning on something. Motive, hate, crime. Okay, she is in North Carolina. Manipulation. Investigation. We hope that the investigation yields something. Dating. What happened to her? What happened to her? I'm looking for potential cause of death. If there's a cause of death. Or potential foul play if she's alive. I'm going to use what happened to Marissa. What happened to her? I want cause of death, or not just that, but let's see if we can get anything else. I'm getting a sense that someone did something with her with their hands. I'll tell you why I'm saying that in a moment. Could have been threatening her. Remember, we got the Ace of Wands earlier here with some sort of weapon they held in their hand, or they could have used their hands. What happened to her and why, more importantly? Okay, the still wanted to come up. Okay, fine. Fine. I don't know if I have all the cards I need. So we have hate, hate crime. Now, here's the thing. This card can come up when there's race relations going on, for sure. And, in the United States, that is always a possibility. But hate crime can also be not just because of her race, but because she's a woman, right? It could be also that. So because she's a woman that they decide to do something like this to her. You've heard of femicide, right? In other countries, they recognize that as femicide. We have here manipulation. This is another reason why I feel like something to do with someone's hands. Could be manual strangulation. It could be pushing her head into a body of water. It could be, like hitting her until she's unconscious. It could be something like that. The manipulation, hand. We see the hand here. We also saw the hand in the Ace of Wands. Okay. The investigation may even have some sort of evidence that has not been released to the public at this time just yet. Okay. Or that the investigation will unfold and they will find out more information. They can't share everything because if they don't have a full airtight case, they don't want to spook any suspects. They have to move very strategically, and it can be super painful and frustrating to the family and to the public because it's like, what happened here? We have here dating. That's been a theme popping up. We have here justice and karma. Where do we see that at? We saw that with question number 3 with the reverse justice adjustment card and spiritual attack. Karma. Something going on there with someone she has an interpersonal relationship with. But it tells us that she may be receiving justice in the near or distant future. Or somebody will be getting their karmic desserts. Their just desserts, right? We have gloves. Another reason why I feel like something happened with their hands or someone trying to cover up and mask what they've done. Using something to cover up. Like if this was an SA situation, I'm not saying that's the case with her, with Marissa, but someone using condoms, right? Or something like that. In this case, it could be someone using gloves to do what they did to her or to clean up, right? But using their hands. Someone felt unloved or unwanted either by her or she felt that way by them or both. I feel like it's the person who did this. But it's also, I don't know. There was this money element that kept coming through with this whole thing in part 1. The very first oracle card we got was coins, so I thought that was interesting. The next card we got was street justice, so it could be someone who is very much in that street life. That came up with the part 1's reading. Not this card per se, it was like the gang or organized crime card. And then we have friends and associates. This card did come up in part 1. So it's like, again, reminding us that there is someone who is, let me do this. Someone close to her or that she's associated with. What happened to Marissa? Poison. It's a poison toxic situation. Poisonous. But sometimes it could just mean metaphorically a toxic situation. Something entering her bloodstream that was toxic. And this is why they can probably, part 1, it was like, oh, there's some kind of accidental something. I mentioned like, oh, accidental OD, because the long period of time that she's been missing, that's been almost 2 years. If they find her remains and they want to do an autopsy, they're going to, it's going to be very difficult to impossible to really determine what happened. So it can be easy to blame it on, oh, she consumed something that was too toxic for her. She did it herself. So we have to be careful. But this, to me, is like a toxic situation. Someone doing something to her consuming something that was not good for her system. All right, I have a lot of cards here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a picture of all of these cards, questions 1 through 4, clear off the table and prepare for the next set of questions, because I need more space for all these cards. All right, I'll be right back. Question 5. What clues can lead law enforcement to her location, to Marissa? What clues? Let's ask the tarot. What clues? This card came out. Ace of Air, Ace in reverse, Ace of Air in reverse. You need to look back, trace back to a timeline, a month back. So Ace of Swords represents either the timing of 1 month or the season of early winter. And in reverse, it could be like something regressing back from January 14th of when she went missing to like maybe December 14th, like looking back at communications to her, like getting clues of like maybe some tense arguments or new conflicts springing up between her and a certain person. And that could really help point them in the right direction to where she is today. Like also it could point them into the direction of the person who's responsible, like maybe where they like to go, where they tend to be at from time to time, like a certain place that they go. And that can offer up a powerful clue to where she may be at now, or where additional witnesses are who have information after the fact of what may have happened to her. Also where clues could have been hidden. So there's something about looking at the communications between her and a certain person that can like lead to other investigative avenues. And I'm sure law enforcement has explored this, but maybe it's time to take another look at it again. Let's take a look here. We have 8 of Earth, 8 of Pentacles, and this shows the family. It says circumspection. Okay. And then we have Wheel of Fortune. We're going to pull some Oracle and then see how those Oracle cards talk to these next tarot cards that we just pulled. I'm going to use my Secrets Revealed. What clues can lead law enforcement to Marissa's location or what happened? We have informant or snitch. Okay. That's what I was talking about. It's like they need to go back and see other connections that the perp had. First, the conversations that the perp had with Marissa in the month preceding her disappearance, and then what conversations did that perp have with other people, and being able to turn those other people into what? Informants or a snitch. That goes with the circumspection card. Let me ask this again. I want to ask it clearly. I want to take from this section. What clues can lead law enforcement to Marissa or her location? They got to take a gamble, take a risk, maybe even do some sub rosa surveillance, following, collecting evidence in real time. I want to, one second, you all. What evidence? Spirit wants us to talk about how law enforcement may have to, like, where their evidence is really going to shine, that leads them to critical evidence that may not have yet been destroyed, is by the people surrounding the perp, the people surrounding Marissa. And sometimes you have to tap phones, you have to do surveillance, like following the person, collecting evidence in real time versus just looking for evidence that had already happened. Does that make sense? And maybe even nudging the situation along. We don't want, I guess you could call it like entrapment, is what I'm picking up on here. And increasing the odds of being able to crack the case with this Wheel of Fortune. Circumspection comes to mind with having to kind of corral people who are close to the perp and close to Marissa. Beach, I don't know. I got to look at the maps in the area, or like the maps in the area. The maps of the area that shows bodies of water near or within those kilometers, miles radius that we picked up in part 1, because there could be some key evidence that was left there nearby the main perp's home, a body of water, or nearby, on the way to trying to distance themselves from Exxon, from her residence, from Greensboro, some kind of body of water with this beach card. Body, like, beach could be a beach on a lake, a river, an ocean. Doesn't have to be just an ocean or beach. It could be a beach, just, soft soil, soft dirt. And I talked about that a lot in part 1. All right, let's keep going. What evidence, what clues, I should say, can lead law enforcement to her location or to what happened to Marissa? They're going to have to squeeze on the people involved. That's what I'm getting a strong sense of. Hold on, friends. I want you to be able to see the shuffling I'm doing. I'm going to add these cards. Okay. What clues? This card came up in part 1, dark energy. Who wished or had some ill will towards Marissa? And that goes back to the reverse Ace of Air, Ace of Swords. Like within a short amount of time, it was clear that she was on this trajectory of marching right into a trap. Addiction. Someone who's involved or responsible maybe has an addiction. I don't know. Addiction. What else came up? I don't know if drugs heavily came up in the part 1. I can't remember already. I can't remember. But nevertheless, someone, it could be an addiction to her. You know how you can become obsessed with someone? And so the clues are really in the people that are around her with this 8 of Pentacles circumspection card. The people who are around her, who was walking with her, who knew her steps, who knew what she was up to and what she was going to be up to. Someone who is obsessed with her. And look, evidence. Okay, so it's the people. It's the people. Sometimes, and I think in part 1 we got DNA evidence that doing this work is going to lead to powerful DNA evidence that the perp thought they got rid of. Or maybe law enforcement already has that evidence. But what's going to crack that case to lead law enforcement to her, or lead it to moving this case along in a meaningful way, is what? The very first oracle card we got, an informant or snitch. Okay, we're going to move on to the next question. Friends, so we're now at question number 6. Okay, so question number 6 is what's next in this investigation for law enforcement, because they claim that it's an active investigation. That's what they claim. So that means that they're still working it. They still have, clues to look at and leads to run down. So So it's, with the Mother of Earth and the Daughter of Fire, it's going to take some time still. But I do get a sense that they're going to be able to determine what happened. I know right now it can look like it's unsolved, but these are two favorable cards about there being some sort of resolution, but it's going to take some time, especially with the Mother of Earth on the table. Daughter of Fire, and then Seven of Cups. They're giving the illusion that things, there's an illusion. I won't say that law enforcement is giving the illusion. There's an illusion that they're kind of giving with not releasing much information about any main people who are persons of interest, because they have persons of interest in mind, but and suspects in mind, but they're choosing to not name them. They're wanting to have a cloak of illusion that nothing is moving or happening, because they may fear that one or more parties who could be critical to the case could flee. Okay, so they're moving very strategically, very slowly, and I'm assuming in North Carolina that these kind of crimes that we're talking about here, including taking someone's life, MURDER, statute, comes with no statute of limitations. So they can take their time, and they could very well take a long time to move this forward. But Spirit wants us to stay encouraged that the investigation is moving along, that it is in fact active. We may begin to hear some things during the key times that are associated with these cards. So, for example, Mother of Earth can represent either the timing of up to 13 years, hopefully not in this case, I pray not, or the season of mid to late autumn. Okay, so we can find out some information, or things can move along. Even if us, the public, doesn't know anything, there could be something that happened in the past autumn that moves things along, or in the future autumn, whatever, that whenever that is, that things start to like coalesce and come together. Daughter of Fire represents Page of Wands, representing 11 weeks, or the season of early to mid spring. So that could be another timing element. And I'm going to talk more about timing in a moment. Okay, question number 7 is devoted just to timing elements of the case. But I just want to give you all some encouragement that the case will move on, that there will be progression, but it's going to be slow and steady. Law enforcement wants to be able to get a conviction with this and not blow it. And it's a delicate thing that they have to be slow and steadfast and fastidious in how they approach collecting evidence, how they approach getting statements, how they approach surveillance and capturing a snitch, for example, right? We have that snitch card. How they move is going to be very critical to nabbing a conviction. But they are giving off the illusion that not much is happening. That is also a strategy of law enforcement. Nothing is happening. Nothing is moving forward. We're just sitting here. Meanwhile, we're investigating and chasing leads and trying to determine what happened. Okay, so this is to offer encouragement to us, especially with that Mother of Earth and Daughter of Fire cards, that things are moving behind the scenes, and that there's a passion for law enforcement to get this case solved. Okay. We've got, they're going to be figuring out some things. What's next in the investigation, Spirit? Oh, that's interesting. We had Dark Energies cards come up again. That came up twice. Now we've got a Paranormal Activity card. Sometimes that could be that this case will be blessed, especially by the influences of those who have crossed over, who help us to lead to a conviction, truth revealed, which is always nice. What's next in the investigation? How did that one already come up? What's next in the investigation? Stop there. We got a lot of cards on the table already. So we know that she's missing. So what I'm concerned about with this missing card is that she could remain missing, but that doesn't mean that law enforcement can't build up a case to prosecute those who caused her to go missing, right? That's what this missing card is saying to me. You let me know what you think the missing card is saying. It could mean, just as an alternative to that she is missing and that she's alive and well, and that that one day she'll be found. But I get a sense that it's just simply saying that Spirit is like, we have to prepare ourselves for us not either getting her full remains or remains at all if she has crossed over, or that it will always be a question mark of ultimately what happened. But they are going to build enough of a case down the line, several years from now, of what happened to her. Okay, like that she didn't go off on her own. They will have enough evidence to be able to say, no, definitively this is not what happened. She didn't go off on her own. She wasn't, living this other life. They're going to know. And they're also going to be able to, I feel like, put together that maybe she did meet foul play. And I think that's why they're still very much involved. Sometimes I find when I've been following these missing persons cases, when law enforcement leans towards it being like misadventure, somebody perhaps dying or succumbing to the elements, I don't see the same level of engagement from law enforcement to continue with like actively investigating. They just kind of like, well, this kind of happened. My intuition strongly picks up on law enforcement feeling like foul play is involved, and they are actively investigating. That's how I see it. That's how I feel it. We have here drowning. I talked about this earlier in this reading, and it could be that someone manually pushed someone down, hurt them to a point of being unconscious and putting them in a shallow or a deep in, I guess, body of water, and then causing them to ultimately drown. Okay. And then that's why it could be easy enough to say, well, that person just, they consumed something and they ended up in a, body of water, and they caused their own demise. But I don't think so. I think whoever caused her to go missing caused her to succumb. And I talked already about the paranormal activity. There's some heavily interesting energies here. We got that strange phenomena card that came up in part 1. I am so interested to hear from you all what you think those cards mean. This one, the dark energies one, came up in part 1 and is here now in part 2. This paranormal activity card, I'm always curious to hear from my peeps, you all, what you think those could mean. And also, did you do a reading on this case? If you did do a reading, please share. I want to hear from you. Don't be shy. Even if you're new to this, chances are your intuitive skills are at a point that can really help us to look at this from a different angle. Or maybe you pick up on certain things that I'm picking up on as well. Share. It's okay. Share. Truth reveal. I love when we get this card because, it may take some time to get there. And we'll look at the timing elements in this next question. But we're going to get there. The truth will be revealed. And then I got robbery or burglary gone wrong. Now, this could be for the night of. What happened to her, or the morning of. Because she actually went missing in the morning. So maybe she was tied to something that a robbery or burglary went wrong. Or it could be someone who's closely involved to her disappearance. Subsequently, well after the fact, several weeks, several months after the fact of her going missing, they were involved in something like this. And in, a separate crime, a separate situation, and they get caught up. And then then they may turn state evidence with this informant or snitch card. Okay, it could be something like that, or it could be like someone tried to rob her, or give the appearance that they're going to rob her or take something from her, take something from her of value. Someone did take something of value from her, and then they caused harm. But really their ultimate motivation was not really to, do that. It was really because they were feeling salty or feeling a way about her specifically, what she's done. They feel wronged. Somebody feels wrong. But I get a sense that this is speaking about some other crime that's on the hands of the main perp. And that we may hear more about this when the case really starts to open up down the line. But the truth will be revealed. That's really good news. Really, really good news. Friends, so now we're at question number 7. Number 7. What are some key past, present, and future timing elements to this case? I'm going to use tarot. First we have death. Okay. Some kind of change, transition, literal death can represent the season of Scorpio, October 21st to November 20th time frame. Son of Fire, representing mid to late spring, or the timing of 12 weeks. Could be 12 weeks from today, or, something taking 12 weeks that we hear about in the future. 4 of Water, summer, early to midsummer, or the timing of days. So we know it could be preceding 4 of Cups, 4 days preceding her disappearance. There was some critical information going on about somebody being bored, somebody wanting to spend time with her, and she kind of rejects them, something along those lines. Comfort. She probably felt enough comfortability with this person. So that's what comes to mind. We have death. I've talked about the timing with that. But this card is of significance, just Spirit kind of honing in on a state of being change, something changing, a transition. Okay, we've gotten this card in various different decks throughout her reading. We got it with the Moth card, the actual death card from the Divine Crime Oracle. This is popping up, but we're asking about the timing element. So past, this could be something happening during the past during the Scorpio period, something key between her and the perp or the accomplice. Okay. Son of Fire, 12 weeks in the past from the time. So we know something was percolating in the days and weeks, several weeks leading up to her disappearance. I talked about it earlier in this reading. It could also represent the season of spring. Spirit is telling me that law enforcement actually, following her disappearance, about well into the season of spring, immediately after she disappeared, what was that, in 2023, she disappeared in January 2023, that they actually have made some strides, but then they hit a wall in the investigation. Now, it also could represent in the future. Maybe we get some answers during the death card period, during springtime, or sometime in summer. But I get a sense Spirit is just honing in on law enforcement had some answers already about the days and weeks leading up to her disappearance, even months. Now I'm going to pull from my This Time Oracle. Patience is needed is the first card that came out. Come on, Patience. We know she was hanging out in the wee hours. Who was she around? These people know. These people who she was around know. Knight of Wands kind of tells me that too. 2 weeks. I wish it was 2 weeks from now that we get answers. But I'm doubtful about that. But hey, we can always hold out hope. Timing. Spring is of significance. It could be the past spring preceding her disappearance, or this coming spring, or a springtime in the future. We've got not anytime soon. So Spirit, and we also got patience is needed. We've got to be patient, but we will get some answers. February is of significance. Anything else, Spirit? We got morning. That jumped over to the side table. So how many cards we got? I don't want too many. We need one more. Let's get solved or get some significant movement. Summer. Okay. All right. So I do get a sense that we are going to get some answers. It's going to be bit by bit because law enforcement is having to piece together a few things here. What was leading up to her disappearance, to Marissa's disappearance? What was, who was she dealing with prior to her disappearance? The actual night and morning of her disappearance. We got the morning card. Something about the morning, like it could be a transition point for her, or it could be mornings when everything kicked off. Now we know the wee hours. We got that. She was definitely up in the wee hours, and so it could be wee hours of the morning. And so they have to piece together and kind of work their way backwards. I do get a sense that Spirit is aware that this is someone who is in her circle. Could be a little tiny circle or a big circle, but they're in her circle. And so they have to carefully unpack things and move accordingly. I feel like that, yes, patience is needed for us, but and not anytime soon. Is saying, it's not going to be anytime soon that we see people in a court. Or in the jail, so we just have to pace ourselves, but that things are moving along. And the reason I say that is because we've got the Death card, we got the Knight of Wands, we've got the Four of Cups. Things are moving along. It's just going to take a bit. They have to build this case slowly but surely. Okay. But we've got 2 weeks. Some people will be like, 2 weeks from now, we're going to find the answers. That would be a dream. But it could be just 2 weeks. They really honing in on something with her and the perp or accomplice. Springtime is of significance, probably in the future spring. Now, I suppose it could represent spring of the 2022 preceding her disappearance for sure, but it also could represent in the future something happening in the spring that her family or law enforcement is privy to about the case moving forward and advancing. We got not anytime soon. February is of significance. It could be the past February. It could be the February following her disappearance that law enforcement really starts to get a gaining of an understanding of what happened, but they now just need evidence to prove it. Because this person or persons that are involved are savvy. They have some kind of understanding of how to, cover their tracks. And we want a prosecution. We don't want the persons to get away with this. We want answers to come. We want Marissa to come home to her family. And so law enforcement knows how much that would mean to the family to get the answers and get Marissa home. But you got to be very careful with that. You got to be careful. Summer is of significance. The preceding summer, I suppose, but I think summer we may hear something more, or if not us, the public. Family, law enforcement may get some movement in the season of summer. Down the line. Could be this coming summer, it could be next summer, in the distant future. I do get a sense that we're going to find out that some male perp, who had an inability to control his emotions, is responsible for what happened, and we're gonna get some answers. Her family's gonna get some answers. It may not be the answers we want, but it will lead to the truth being revealed. Okay, I have all these cards here. All right, we have one more question, and this one is kind of a doozy. All I'm gonna do for this next question, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about it, is I'm going to pull cards, one or two cards, maybe just one, for each of the people who I heard about were near her or around her in the hours, weeks, and maybe even months ahead of her disappearance. And we'll just leave it at that. We can always explore down the line, go into further depth. But remember, everybody's presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. So we don't want to, just be carelessly just dropping names and this and that. We're just going to pull cards for them. Okay? That's what we're going to do. You'll see what I mean in just a moment. Be right back. Okay. So this last one is going to be just me pulling cards, tarot cards specifically. And if necessary, I'll pull a card, an oracle card. But first up, and I may change the name of some of the people unless they have their own aliases. But the first one is her friend that was, I guess, temporarily staying with her and her family, who ended up leaving her family's residence shortly after Marissa disappeared, and it had people suspicious of this friend. We'll call her N. Okay, call her N. I want to know, so give me a card for N, tarot card about her knowledge or involvement or her truthfulness or her faithfulness to Marissa. What do we got? Ace of Water. This lady feels like she's loyal to really no one. I would say she's, not that, like, not in a bad way, but what I mean by that is that their friendship didn't run that deep with the Ace of Water. So the loyalty, I don't know, was there. We'll pull an oracle card for her, for N, her friend. She panicked. Why did she panic? Maybe because she has some inside information. Maybe she understands, that if Marissa disappeared, she too could also experience a similar situation. She panicked. So what she ended up doing was shortly after, I want to say even the day of, I don't know, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but the day of Marissa going missing, her friend, who she was initially hanging out with the night before, they were all hanging out, but then she left Marissa to go spend time with her boyfriend. She goes back to her parents' house, to Marissa's parents' house, where she was temporarily staying. This friend, N, was staying. And when it became clear that Marissa's missing, that day, N moved out. She panicked. Does that mean necessarily that she's in the know of anything? Maybe. It could denote that. Because who panics? Normally you would be, even an acquaintance or even a friend that you just knew, you would be a little grief-stricken. You probably even want to stay and support the family for a little while. For you to experience panic, that's telling. The Ace of Water can also be an affirmative yes, that maybe she has some minimal knowledge about what happened to Marissa, and she panicked because she was afraid that she would receive the same fate. Okay, next person. We have this gentleman named Mo Dallas. I have my notes here that I was watching videos and I made little notes like, okay, who is all these folks? Mo Dallas, let's see. Hold on, y'all. Marissa and Mo Dallas went to a pool hall, then to the sofa lounge, the 117. Okay, so give us a card spirit about this Mo Dallas person. Everything is alleged. In my personal opinion, the moon in reverse, but actually the deck was in reverse, so we're going to say the moon. Some kind of, illicit affair, but doesn't necessarily mean this alone is that he's responsible, that they did have something secret going on. Let's pull an emotions card. Disappointment. Maybe he's disappointed with her, with their relationship, with how the night progressed with this moon card. I don't think that rises necessarily to the level of doing anything wrong to her with this moon card. The moon can represent deep desires, illicit affairs, what's done in the dark coming to light energy. It's with the disappointment. So I'm not getting a strong sense that he had anything to do with anything other than maybe they have something going on. Maybe. I don't know. Let's move on. The next person. Jersey Moneybag. Now, Jersey Moneybag. So, Marissa, once I guess she got to now I could be wrong about this. Once she got to the sofa lounge, maybe she linked up with Jersey, and then they left together, and they were talking in the days prior to the disappearance I have here. Okay. And they were supposed to go somewhere together to the 2 and 6. I guess like that's like an after hours kind of party spot. They were kind of messing around in the vehicle, allegedly. I don't know. Maybe also when I see Moneybags, maybe he has something going on that's illicit, that's supposed to be kept in the dark, and he's disappointed. He's disappointed that she's no longer around for whatever reason. He benefited from her being around. He's disappointed she's no longer around. Now this Jersey person. Let's her give us a tarot card for Jersey. Oh. Jersey. 9 of water, 9 of cups. We got joy. Okay. And shame. He holds shame about what happened to her, responsibility perhaps. But initially when the night started, it was like a wish fulfilled. He got to hang out with her, he got to be around her, he got to spend, intimate moments with her, and that felt really good. But then we've got the oracle card, shame. Okay. Shame even writes here, shame stems from judgment of yourself or others, making you feel unworthy or insufficient. When you feel shame, you remind yourself that you are it's just basically saying, why you might feel shame. But shame, he could feel shame about being one of the last people with her. Also, if my memory serves me correct, now that I look at my notes, I wrote these notes a while ago. Actually, a while ago here. Let me see these chicken scratch notes I have here. Jersey. They got into an argument. That's right. He drove her to the Exxon station. He feels shame for leaving her. Now, it could be shame for doing something to her or towards her, for sure. Maybe he circled back. Maybe he doubled back and they got into even more of an argument, but I don't think so. I think he feels shame for being even a part of this whole situation and ultimately being responsible for her ending up at the Exxon station with no phone and just being susceptible to harm. I could be wrong. Some people think that he's responsible. Then there's other people who think that the next, the person who picked her up after he left her is responsible. Then there's others of us who believe that even after she got picked up, after the whole Exxon argument with Jersey, that someone else is responsible. And I'm of that thinking, but I could be wrong. Shame. He holds great shame. He holds great shame about this. Okay. Next up, Sean is, I know I could just call him something different, but Sean is the person is allegedly who ended up helping her, giving her a ride or offering a ride to her. Let's get a card for him. Okay. 2 of air, equilibrium. This or that. He was like, you could take it or leave it, whether she would have accepted his help or not. He was like, okay, well, I'm here. That goes with this uncertainty card. He wasn't wholly invested. Wholly, like what I mean by that is like, well, take it or leave it. You need a ride or not. Some people want to say that he was the stalker. So let me say this. I read somewhere, and I can't remember where I read it, but her mom, I believe, is saying that maybe this guy, Sean, is allegedly a stalker of Marissa, or that Marissa had a stalker, and maybe it could have been this guy. Sean. But I'm getting weak energy here of that with this 2 of air. Now, it doesn't mean that he didn't have anything to do with it. It could be he's so indifferent and so like blasé that he could be very capable of it. But this, along with this uncertainty oracle card, is weak energy cards. It's not giving me a strong sense of someone doing something. Now, we have smoke. This is the father of her last 4 children. Okay. Now, this is someone, obviously, she's dealing with because she has children with this person. Empress. Okay. The mother of his child or children. Repression. Okay. 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 So we've got Empress. This is the mother of his child, so that kind of makes sense. Out of all of the cards, I mean, with the exception of Modalas, because these are minor arcana. So to me, these are like weaker energy cards telling me I'm not quite sure if these folks had really anything to ultimately do with her disappearance or the reason why she's not around us today. But the Modalas could have something to do with it. He's disappointed. Could be in himself and others. And then we have, Jersey, who holds shame, but not necessarily because he did anything wrong, was because he's shameful about how you just gonna leave a woman out there floundering. You should be ashamed. You should be ashamed. Whether you're a man or a woman, you leave a woman without her purse and her phone. I don't even know if she had her shoes on. You just left her after you got into an argument and you took off into the night. That's so wrong on so many different levels. And I'm sorry I get impassioned by this, but I see these things from time to time and it's just like, no, someone's got to call a spade a spade. Yes, you should be feeling shame. But that doesn't rise necessarily to criminality. Just a crummy ass person, you know? Because yeah, you can get into an argument, a disagreement, whatever the case may be. And you can say, look, here's your stuff. Here's your phone. Or you can just take the person home and say, I don't want to deal with you no more. Or you can make sure that she has a ride somewhere else. Do the responsible thing as a human being to another human being. I digress. But then back over here to this guy, we have repression. Who is repressed? Is he repressed in this? Did he feel like she was, as a mother being like she was repressing her, maternal obligations? We got 2 major arcanas. The moon with Modalas, and then with smoke we have the Empress, and that could indicate that yes, that they could have been instrumental in how she ended up in this whole position to begin with, allegedly. Not necessarily that Modalas did anything, but like she was on a trajectory of being on this path of going missing because of some kind of wheeling and dealing he was doing. And so he's now disappointed that he doesn't have her around anymore or something along those lines. And then this guy over here is, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And kind of repressing emotions about that whole situation. I don't know. It's concerning because when I ask, when I think about the question, does this person, have anything ultimately to do or in the knowledge of what happened to her that night? This is a strong yes card, allegedly. Okay. Now, there's this other character. We'll call him Jay. He worked with her, but he was also, I think he's engaged with someone else, but he worked with her at a diner or restaurant that she worked at. And they had some involvement in the months leading up to her disappearance. But I'm just, trying to get some touch points here with people who were around her In the months, weeks, and days leading up to her disappearance, Spirit, tell me about Jay. Seven of Air is deception. Now, Seven of Swords. I will say this. I do know that he was involved in some kind of engagement, about to get married. And he may have been fooling around with her, with Marissa, from time to time. Resistance. Make of that what you may. And I'm going to pull a card for an unknown assailant not mentioned. Ten of Air, Ten of Swords. Destruction. There could very well be someone who is responsible in the know that we don't know about just yet, or that law enforcement has not really honed in on, that's ultimately responsible. Isolation. Also, the thing is about that is that there's a few people I feel like knew what happened to her, and there's actually the one person who's ultimately responsible to why she's missing and gone. So we have here, there is someone that has not even been talked about yet, or at least we are made aware of, that could be involved. Ten of Swords, or Ten of Air, and isolation. Although, if I look at yes, no's assigned to my cards, Ten of Air is a no card. So it could be like, no, there's no one else. You've got the people, the key players. Also, Seven of Air. Seven of Swords is a no card. Two of Air is a maybe. But these are yes. Ace of Water is a yes card. This is a no card. The Moon is a no card. This is a yes card. Yes card for show with the Empress, and these are no cards. So if we looked at it like that, if I say, okay, if I just not intuitively read these cards, if I look at it how I assigned the meanings, it could be that the people closest to her really are in the know about what happened and may allegedly have some culpability. Okay. You all let me know what you think happened to her. Do you think that Marissa is still with us in the land of the living? Do you think if she's not, does she face some kind of misadventure of her own doing? Does she accidentally get hurt? Did she run off and live a new life? Did someone that she knows do something to her, cause her disappearance, or was it a stranger that caused it? I want to hear from you in the comments section down below, because I'm very curious to hear what you think. What, if you did a reading, what came up in your cards, your interpretations, your intuition? Please share. I am praying that we get answers soon to what happened to Marissa. I pray so hard that her kids especially get to see their mama again, or at the very least get some sense of closure. And that if something happened that's foul, that justice is served. And I do kind of rest easy that we have some cards here that indicate that that will happen down the line. Do me a favor on your way out. Please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Let's get the word out that Marissa is still missing, and that her family, her loved ones, her mom, her sister, her kids, her friends, real friends, they deserve answers. So let's keep saying her name, Marissa Carmichael, so that way law enforcement takes this case seriously and keeps pressing forward. All right, friends, do me a favor also. Take good care of yourselves. It's rough out there right now. And yeah, I'm sending you all so much love. Bye for now.